How'd you like them apples?
That was great.
All right, well, I suppose we should talk about Raw. What a wonderful show this turned out to be.
Raw was the CM Punk show. It's long and the short of it.
No, the long and short of it was this was a complete disaster of a show.
That's another way of putting it.
A complete disaster of a show.
Yeah. This is... Punk opened the show. He came down in the ring to cut a promo. He sat down in the middle of the ring. He declared himself the best wrestler in the world. Said he beat Rey Mysterio. He beat John Cena. Wins and losses do still mean something, and he was the number one contender. He wanted the GM to make it official. He didn't want a title match tonight. He wants it in his hometown of Chicago at Money in the Bank, which, by the way, he won 2 years in a row. So he was staging a sit-in until he got his wish. GM dinged in. He asked Punk to leave. Punk responded by making snow angels in the ring. The GM said he was going to name Punk top contender. Now he's going to make him earn it in a match with Alberto. Punk said Alberto had one fluke win over the Big Show. So the GM added Rey to the match. Punk was going to say more, but they cut off his mic. And then he was angry. He left the ring. He yelled at the announcers. He kicked these steps in frustration and then sold his foot. CM Punk is my hero.
He's pretty great here.
He was great here.
By the way, in an update tonight, talked to some other people in WWE, and Punk is just, he's going nuts with this July 17th thing. You know, this is the end, my last day. Yesterday, there were a lot of people that were convinced that it was over for him on that day. And suffice to say, 24 hours later, it's kind of swung in the opposite direction. Tons of people just think this is all, I don't want to say it's all bullshit, but, I mean, there's a very strong feeling that that he may take time off after the 17th, but he either is going to re-sign or he has re-signed. Pretty much everything I wrote in the Daily Update today, it's even more so tonight. So we shall see how it goes, but I know that there are a lot of people figuring that July 17th, the big surprise is going to be that he does win the title from Cena. And keep in mind, in the ROH deal, supposedly in his last night, he actually won the title, stuck around for 2 more months.
Yes.
I don't expect the same thing here, but it is Money in the Bank, so he could very easily win the title, and it immediately gets cashed in, and he
excellent
loses
point.
It. Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Hopefully, I didn't just ruin it for poor Punk.
They probably will now. Change everything.
Oh, well.
You're leaving it anyway. Who cares?
It's not my fault.
So we had the first...
Listen, me or anybody else... The President of the United States can figure out what your storyline is. You don't have to fucking change it. Go ahead.
We had our first Power to the People match. We were told that Brie would wrestle one of 3 women. And they showed the 3 women, and the candidates were Eve, Kelly's boobs, and Beth. People voted exactly how you would think given those options. Kelly got more than half the vote. And what turns out to be, by the end of this, probably the only thing even close to legitimate numbers.
Close, basically, yeah.
Because, yeah. So,
actually, not even, because she would have got even more votes, because those all went to poor Mason Ryan.
Well, presumably not every single vote that came in after this was for her. But,
most of them were.
I'm sure most of them were, because most of the ones that came in before were for her. But my point being, every other match had votes coming in for the match before them. Whereas these people were the first match, therefore there were no other votes to come in. The point being, Brie Bella wrestled Kelly in an impromptu match. Holy shit. Well, that being said, it was not bad.
Well, in a match like this, I mean, I'm sure... I mean, the match was like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure before the show, all 3 girls went in the ring. They all went over the exact same match, and whoever won got it. And I think they all figured it was going to be Kelly anyway.
That's probably true. Cole did note that she looked nervous. They had a match. It did not go very long. Kelly won with a victory roll to win the Divas Championship. She actually worked up tears.
I don't think she worked up tears, because this really was her first ever WWE title.
Yeah.
And she's done a lot of interviews saying that she just wants to win a title. And every time these girls win this title, for Christ knows what reason, they cry. And this title really means a lot to the girls. It's mind-boggling.
It really is. So the Bellas bickered between themselves. Then Jerry Lawler got in the ring to let Kelly cut a promo. And she cut, frankly, a really good promo about how happy she was, and she thanked the people. And
because it was real.
Yes! It was completely unscripted and honest, and just she just spoke from the heart. It was like Joe Rogan in the Octagon. We need more promos like this. We had... And then here, after that, the show went flying wildly off the rails. First, they had an Evan Bourne highlight video. Then we had Evan Bourne versus one of three men, Jack Swagger, Mason Ryan, or Sin Cara. At the time, I thought two of these could be completely disasters. And the three men stood there next to each other very awkwardly. By now, I'm sure everyone knows what happened. Mason Ryan won the damn vote, and I'm sure you know why, because they fucked up the voting. So most of what I was going to say here was completely irrelevant.
Well, listen. As much as I say they've done Cyber Sunday and Taboo Tuesday and that sort of thing, they did. It was a different type of voting. They voted online. They had categories for a while. Obviously the idea on this show was, okay, we're going to try something different. We're going to do text message voting. I'm sure they made some sort of cut off of it. That's why they went public with the fact that it got fucked up. Otherwise, they just wouldn't have said anything about it, I'm sure. So, they got to make good on this whole thing. And that's why on Monday, Sin Cara and Evan Bourne are in fact having a match.
Yes.
But the point of this is that, even though it was a different kind of voting, somebody should have saw this coming, Like, you use the same phone number for everything.
Mm-hmm. And the same A, B, and C options.
The same A, B, and C options. And a lot of people are going to be voting. They didn't do any sort of testing of this. Really, how do you do testing unless you do it on television? But they should have. There are a million ways that you could have tested this out without actually having to do a match. To find out if you're going to get a million votes, if you're going to get a backlog. They could have done a test last week on the show. Go, here's a preview of what we're going to do. And then do one and find out what the fuck happens when all these people call in all at the same time. But no, they didn't. And so this is all their fault. And I can tell you for certainty, and it's pretty clear at this point, I'm sure everybody figured it out, that it was supposed to be Sin Cara's match. And Sin Cara and Evan Bourne had worked out their entire match. They were the only ones that had worked out a match because nobody thought there was any fucking chance whatsoever of Mason Ryan winning. So when Mason Ryan won, everybody here was just gobsmacked.
Yep.
They
Sin
went out and
Cara.
had to call a fucking match in the ring.
Yeah.
And God bless Evan Bourne. Thank God he's good.
Yes.
Because if can you imagine if in a disaster it would have been Sin Cara against Jack Swagger, Mason Ryan, or Evan Bourne? And the fans voted for Mason Ryan, so it was Sin Cara versus Mason Ryan in a fucking impromptu match.
That would have been a million times worse.
Can you even imagine?
Oh, God, that would have sucked.
Holy fuck. That would have been the end of WWE as we know it.
So, they announced Mason as the winner. The live crowd booed. Sin Cara just grabbed his head in shame. Evan, quite visibly right on camera, said, "Really?"
Yes.
Booker said, "I would have never expected that." So, Mason Ryan comes out. Cole suddenly has to explain to who this man is, since they don't know much about him, the typical viewer. He said he was 6'6". He was just standing next to Jack Swagger, who I don't think is 7 feet tall. The fans chanted Batista at him, and really, except for one wonky small package spot, the match went as well as could be expected. It was fine. Evan Bourne is, in fact, really fucking good. Although then he got pinned clean with a Uranagi. So what the fuck do they bother with a highlight video for? And now, yes, it's the match people want to see, Evan versus Sin Cara, but it's Sin Cara versus the guy Mason Ryan destroyed. That sucks.
Let's read this here. WWE would like to apologize for technical difficulties that occurred during the Power to the People edition of Raw on Monday night. The interactive event aimed to give the WWE Universe the ability to choose what they wanted to see on their television screens. Unfortunately, uncontrollable difficulties created by an influx of heavy voting traffic resulted in not every one of the more than 697,000 recorded votes to be properly counted. During Monday's Raw broadcast, WWE fans were given the option to text A, B, or C to 46993 in order to decide what they wanted to happen on the show. Things went perfectly at first when text votes selected Kelly Kelly to take on Brie Bella for the Divas Championship. What do you mean things went perfectly? You mean they chose who they were supposed to? However, our voting tabulating provider system became overwhelmed, causing the votes to definitively affect the following contest in which Mason Ryan, also option B, was voted into a match against Evan Bourne. Even though, as it was later discovered, Sin Cara had received 90% of the total votes in WWE.com's live chat poll, so that's how they say they figured this out, and should have been Bourne's opponent. Votes for the third poll's bout, Kane versus Mark Henry in an arm wrestling contest, were counted correctly. However, problems began to occur again during the next poll, determining a match stipulation between U.S. champion Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston.
Stop right there. If the system got overloaded, or if it got fucked up because it was overloaded, but Shawn and Kane went right, does that mean no one, or Henry and Kane went right? Does that mean nobody voted?
No, it means everybody voted for arm wrestling. So at this point, many text votes were received, and the system was overloaded, crashed, had to be restarted. With little information to work from, WWE management selected to follow the system's earliest projections, which determined that the 2 out of 3 falls match had been the people's choice. It was not until later that it was discovered that Vicky Guerrero, banned from ringside, was actually the top vote getter. Restarting the tabulating system allowed for things to run smoothly, with the voting for the triple threat match determined the number 1 contender for the WWE Championship going off without a hitch. Regrettably, technical difficulties occurred once more leading up to the night's 6-man tag team main event, when it became apparent to WWE management that text votes were again not being tabulated properly. At this time, a decision was made to turn WWE's live chat poll on for the official judgment. With the power still in the hands of the people, the WWE Universe selected the elimination match by an overwhelming 87%, leading to the stipulation being enacted. In other words, when it became apparent, means that perhaps 20-minute time limit was winning. And they could just not do this.
Yes.
So they just said, fuck the voting. We're going to go with this supposed WWE Universe live chat poll. So there you go. In light of these unfortunate technical problems, WWE apologized to the fans, superstars, and divas affected by the situation. And furthermore, to make it up to you, the WWE Universe, High Flyers Evan Bourne and Sin Cara will meet in the ring live next Monday on Raw. There you go.
Okay. So Mark Henry came out for a promo. They did actually show him being stretchered out on Friday 3 days ago, and here he was being back totally fine. He talked about what he did to the Big Show at the pay-per-view, said, Big Show makes the earth shake, but I make the people shake, and by God, Mark Henry's a big, scary man.
Yeah, he is.
That's all I can say. Yes, Big Show versus Kane in an arm wrestling match. Live crowd booed again, and they also chanted, this is stupid. They teased an arm wrestling match, then Big Show hit him for the DQ, which was lame. They couldn't just let him win. The world's strongest man could not win an arm wrestling contest.
No.
Stupid. So then he laid complete and utter waste to Kane. He put him through the table with the power slam. There's a woman with a cell phone who was very impressed with Mark Henry. And also, if you think I think he's a scary man, this woman may have shit herself. She was terrified and also very concerned that Kane may actually be dead. And Henry gloated about what he had done for seemingly hours. 3-hour show, they had some time to kill. Truth came out for a promo. He got by Little Jimmy.
He got okie doked.
He got okie doked is what I wrote, yes. And he also got by Little Jimmy.
That was the best line of the fucking year. Till the Briscoes the next day.
Christian interrupted.
I got okie doked by Little Jimmy.
Yeah.
I got! I loved it. Every moment of it.
Christian said that he got screwed and he blamed his title loss on the people. Showed video of his foot under the rope from the pay-per-view. They were bitching about who got screwed more. Miz came out to bitch about being screwed, although I did not see the pay-per-view, and they made no mention of what the hell Miz was talking about. Something about it being the ref's fault.
Well, that's because it wasn't the ref's fault.
Well, there you go then.
He lied.
I see.
Hey, he lied.
So, they were doing... Miz was doing his really thing, and Christian said Riley, and Miz said Randy, and Truth said Jimmy. I laughed at this. I may have been the only one.
Well, it was funny, but it was also... These men... Well, as I mentioned last night, they ain't main eventers anymore, so who gives a fuck?
2 of them are not main eventers as of right now, and
They're really not main eventers after this.
One won't be for very long. So, Teddy came out and told them, and I quote, shut up! He booked the 3 of them against Riley and Cena and Orton so that people would choose the Stips. And Michael Cole pointed out quite accurately that Teddy shouldn't even be out there. So, Kofi versus Dolph Ziggler for the 400th time. And then, quite ironically, although now we know the voting was screwed up, best of 3 falls 1. That completely blew my mind. Not because I thought they wanted Vicky to be banned, but because it meant people wanted to see them more than is absolutely necessary. Actually,
this was their 19th encounter together. So if you count the 2 falls, it was actually their 21st.
It's been 3 falls.
21st opportunity to have a match together.
Yes. So Dolph won the first fall during commercial, paging total nonstop action.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
Idiocy is how.
On a 3-hour show, they cannot bother to show this pin. Although the second pin, Kofi, I believe for the first time, actually got a pinfall with the SOS Slam.
It looked awesome.
Well, there you go. Kofi stole the Shadows Over Hell from Delirious. Apparently it is now Shadows Over Jamaica. And they went back and forth for a while, and then Dolph just hit a mic shot for the DQ. So this feud is in the 20s now. It will be in the 40s perhaps by the end of the year. Alberto got a promo. Ricardo is still not there. He really had nothing to say. Three-way between Alberto, Punk, and Ray. Falls Count Anywhere was the winner. It was funny. I thought it was funny that no DQ was even an option, because aren't all triple threats no DQ?
Well,
doesn't that happen?
I thought we had an argument about that a while ago, but that would be correct.
All right. They had a very good TV match. It was this actually was a total nonstop action match. Never lost its intensity. Ray was busting out all sort of wacky spots, like the tope or the tope off the top rope into the ring, and then the Hijo de Santo rolling senton tope combo, and finally he had a top rope splash on Alberto, but Punk broke up the pin, threw him into the post, and stole the pin to win. So he is the top contender going to the next pay-per-view in his hometown. Great match. That was fun. Then Punk cut a promo. He announced that the date of the pay-per-view is also the date his contract expires, and he vowed to leave and take the championship with him. And I would be totally fine if they just completely ripped off the ROH storyline.
Well, I don't think they're going to, but they're starting.
Yep. We had Cody Rhodes versus Daniel Bryan. I was praying for Collegiate Rules to win. It did not. No count out won.
I wish they would have done a paper bag match.
Don't know what that match is, but...
What would that be?
I don't know. So rather than get a Collegiate Rules match... Which
whoever puts a paper bag on his opponent... Whoever puts his opponent in a paper bag?
I would presume that would be it.
Wow. Yeah. That'd be a big-ass bag.
I hadn't thought of that. So yes, rather than get to see a Collegiate Rules match, which at least would have been something different, we saw a 3-minute match like we see on every single goddamn episode of Raw.
I've got to find out what a paper bag match
Daniel
is now.
Bryan won in 3 minutes with his small package of doom.
Did they explain this?
No.
Did they explain what a paper bag match was?
They may have. I don't know. I bet it... Here's what I bet it would have been. Loser has to wear a paper bag, which is what Cody does in all his matches anyway.
A paper bag on a pole.
And you can use the paper bag as a weapon?
Sure.
Here it is. Yes, you can use the paper bag as a weapon because you see, this particular paper bag has no eye holes cut in it. So you put it on the guy's head and he's blind.
I'm going to Google paper bag match.
Well, let me know what you find.
All right. I assume the paper bag match would be like a kiss my foot match where the loser would have to bag themselves. There are 20 posts in this on the WrestleCrap forum here. Let's see. I think they said it was a standard bag on a pole match, a.k.a. a Vince Russo special. That's what the King said, apparently. Well, there you go. All right.
Vicky did a dance competition with Michael Cole. It was almost Lawler. It wasn't. That would have been funny. Cole should have won because he tried to spin a Rooney. They said he got louder boo, so he won. Vicky slapped him. That's all I have to say. Truth, Miz and Christian versus Cena and Orton and Riley. They showed actually a fan's iPhone or BlackBerry footage of the finish to the pay-per-view match, which kind of made me laugh. So it was an elimination match. Riley got a hot chance to make a hot tag and come back against Christian. This crowd did not accept him as a star in any way, especially not in this crew. And
well, the problem was there were actually a lot of people that liked Cena for once. So Cena's on the apron, and Riley's on the apron, and everybody wants to see Cena get in, and they tag Riley. This poor bastard.
Yeah, and this is the flaw in elimination matches, especially when you book them this way, is that, you know, usually the great thing about a six-man is you can get 3 guys over because the winning team wins, and you only have to have 1 guy lose. This is an elimination match. 5 guys dropped here.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. Riley got hit from behind by Miz, hit him with the skull-crushing finale. Christian got the pin, so Miz didn't pin him, although he did his finisher and cost him the match, so they're going to feud either way. It probably doesn't matter that much, but it's not good. So they got the heat on Cena for a long time, and then he hit Miz with an FU out of nowhere, taking out Christian in the process, so that made it 2-on-2. They kept beating up Cena, and finally, let's see, Orton got the hot tag. You know what? I don't even know what the hell happened. He pinned him with an RKO. Christian immediately pinned him with a spear. And then Orton RKO'd Christian, and Cena tapped him out with the SDF. Cena was the lone survivor. It was what it was. That was Raw.
Yeah, hit and miss. There's some good wrestling on the show, but I wasn't a fan of the elimination match. He didn't need to beat Riley.
No.
The whole idea of Christian beating Orton and then Orton immediately laying him out to beat him. So what was the point?
I don't know.
You both look like fools. Way to go.